Hello and welcome. You are watching Business Plus here on News9 Live. I'm Krishnakumar and I'm being joined by Mr. Rakesh Khar here in the studio, and we are telling you all about the aftermath of that historic IPL final that lasted over 3 days and finally saw Chennai Super Kings emerge as the winner for the fifth time, a record equaling fifth time. What does it mean for Dhoni? What does it mean for IPL? What does it mean for CSK? And also, what does it mean for the runners-up, Gujarat Titans? We'll be discussing all of that, so let's get right into it. In a late-night, nail-biting show, the Chennai Super Kings beat the Gujarat Titans by 5 wickets to win their fifth IPL title. They have now matched the record of Mumbai Indians, becoming the joint most successful franchise of the IPL with 5 trophies in their cabinet. In the 16 years that IPL existed, you have Chennai Super Kings winning it 5 times and the Mumbai Indians winning it 5 times. A memorable night, a final unlike no other. The kind of viewership, we are yet to get the final numbers on the viewership, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm telling you right away, the kind of viewership that IPL final would have got was going to be unmatched, unprecedented so far. That's what it looks like, because bear in mind, this year you have the OTT audience, you also have the TV audience. You know, it's going to be a cracker of a year when the final numbers, final tally comes out. Dhoni, you know, it's called the Dhoni IPL. It's called the MSD IPL because you have a sea of, 7 numbered yellow jerseys wherever the Chennai Super Kings went, even in the Eden Gardens, even in the national capital, Delhi. Fans of other teams showing up in the MS Dhoni jersey. That's the kind of IPL this was, and it ended that way. Ironically enough, Dhoni was out for a first ball duck in the match. But bear in mind, all that reminded me of was the fact that the great Don Bradman scored a duck, in his last innings as a batsman. That's the kind of tribute that the greats, that the legends get as a kind of twist of fate. But we don't know. MS Dhoni has said that he's going to continue playing, which means that brand Dhoni could grow even bigger than what it is right now. Let's take this across to the gentleman in the studio first. Rakesh ji, thank you so much for being with us. Rakesh,
thank you.
First of all, you were up till 3 in the morning.
Absolutely.
I was up till 3 in the morning. Crazy match, wasn't it?
How can you miss such a spectre? It's a splendor. It's all out there, and it's all complete glory. And as they say, the cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties. They really played out with whether playing the other uncertainty.
Yeah, but one thing is certainty is the fact that brand Dhoni.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of brands we're going to talk about, but I want to begin by asking you, talk to us about the brand Dhoni story, because Dhoni, is at a stage where people are expecting him to retire this year at the best. Very few people are like, he should go for another year, apart from the CSK fans. But Dhoni has been doling out corporate lessons.
Absolutely.
From the time he began captaining the Indian team and the Chennai Super Kings, wasn't it?
3 words: captain, leader, legend. That's what defines Dhoni today. And now we are talking about whether he'll extend his innings as a captain of CSK, or he will come in as a mentor for the national cricket team, or he could go abroad and become the coach for Australia or England. So such are the immense possibilities that Dhoni has.
Yes.
So that's Dhoni of today. But let me take you back to 2008. Krishna, Dhoni started his career in 2004 in Bangladesh, and then that famous 183 or 148 in Islamabad, in Pakistan, which put him in the broad spotlight.
Incidentally, before you move ahead, before that 183 was when he signed his first brand endorsement deal with Mysore Sandal Soap.
Absolutely.
Incidentally.
His love for South will manifest even then.
His South connection goes back to Mysore Sandal Soap.
Interesting. So, I just want to take you back to 2008. This was just after the victory of 2007, which was phenomenal in its own sense, and a complete underdog to 2007 World Cup in terms of T20. India didn't have a great track record. I had no track record, actually. Let's put it factually. And Dhoni created a landmark win, and we defeated Pakistan at that. Defeating Pakistan in a World Cup final and for T20s really ignited and reignited the cricket dream in India. Now, this 2008, I don't remember the month, Krishna, there was a call I got from Ernst & Young leadership saying that we're doing something interesting. We would like your feedback. So this was a call. They had done a report, or they were about to release a report. It was called Dhoni and the Rise of Other India. So while we have celebrated, Sachins of the world, the Dravids of the world, all our lives as attracting massive brand endorsements. But in this case, what happened is that this probably was the first report where a business consulting firm actually harnessed a full-fledged report. Wow. And what are the origins of that report? Why was it important that they looked at this? Because Dhoni came from Jharkhand. Now this Jharkhand, Ranchi to Chennai story, this phenomenon started with Ranchi, and if you would recall, cricket essentially at the international level and national level in India was more a Delhi-Bombay club. You know, it didn't have much representation from what we call the other India or the tier 2, tier 3 cities. So that's why Ernst & Young felt that it's important to document this great success story and also draw the import of this success story on brands, and not just as cricketing brands, but all kinds of consumer and consumption brands that emanate from rise of the other cities. And from 2008 till 2023, Krishna, we all don't even one day tire of celebrating the tier 2, tier 3 success stories.
Absolutely.
Across categories. So in that sense, Dhoni is a business leader established in that report, and Ernst & Young is a business consulting firm. They don't have any favors. They do things. They're supposed to look at trends and forecast trends. So I think this was one first early trend. And before I hand you back the mic in this case.
No, I want to ask you something.
What Dhoni also fails is a fundamental economic law of diminishing marginal economic utility. He started in 2004, we are in 2023, everybody is saying please go on. At a time when people have said 19 years of competitive cricket across formats, he should have been over.
Enough. People usually say enough, please go away, you've had enough.
Ab chale jao aur logon ko aane do. Yeah, the whole country is angry, as you rightly pointed out, saying that, please, we want, every city is welcoming him. And he's made Chennai CSK a global brand.
All right, stay with us. We have Mr. LLoyd Mathias, angel investor and business strategist, now joining us on this broadcast here on Business Plus. LLoyd, thank you so much, as always, for being with us here on Business Plus. Talk to us. We're talking about brand Dhoni over here. He was the first ambassador for brand Bharat, if I may, the other India, not from the big cities, and he really rode that bandwagon to the hilt and continues to do so.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Krishna. I think a very interesting topic, and love the passion with which my co-panelist also, got this off to a start. And like the two of you, I was up till late last night watching that glorious final. Truly exhilarating. Yeah, I'd like to just build on a couple of points that my co-panelist made. I think one is truly, and I'm glad he brought that highlight, in a sense, he symbolized the move from cricket being, let's say, a big town phenomena into the smaller country. That a lot of people, Ranji was cricket backwater, so to speak, right? And in that sense, that completed the process. When cricket in India first came, it was predominantly a sport of royalty, the Ranjit Singhis and Dilip Singhis. And then through the 80s and 90s, middle-class India kind of got into it, which is again the big metros. So I think that symbolized. But if I were to go back and reflect on what makes brand Dhoni and Dhoni himself so special, I think it's a couple of things that I want to say. I think one is that he's shown tremendous maturity. Right from the first time he made it to the Indian team, or the first time he took over the mantle of captaincy, I think he's had this very even, calm, composed way of leading the side without a lot of the histrionics. Right? People tend to get a little carried away. Leading cricket in India, a nation with 1.4 billion fans, I think is exhilarating. I think he's kept his composure right through the process. I think that's phenomenal. The second thing I want to highlight is that Dhoni has consistently built on a legacy. He recognized that he was inheriting a great team that Saurav had kind of nurtured, so to speak, and made India world beaters. But I think he's always respected that and not disparaged his predecessors. He's played very even with earlier superstars. He's not kind of disparaged predecessors. He's played very, very, very well on that front. I think the other point I want to highlight is also his ability to actually share credit and take the blame. Right? Even yesterday in those victorious moments, you saw that Dhoni was not up there up front celebrating. I mean, he was the guy behind, getting the younger players, taste this glorious moment. So I think these are points that, to my mind, reflect on great maturity, great leadership skill. And given the fact that he's someone who kind of arrived at the big stage relatively late, he wasn't like an 18, 19-year-old when he got picked for India, and has had this tremendous long run at various levels of the sport, I think he's managed to keep things very, very even. I think that, to my mind, is his biggest strength.
All right, stay with us. We also have Mr. Chandrashekhar Luthra, sports journalist, joining us live on this broadcast. Chandrashekhar, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on Business Plus. Talk to us. We're talking about brand Dhoni over here. We're talking about 36 endorsements at last count. Brand valuation doubling since he announced his international career retirement, and now he's on the verge of his retirement, from playing retirement from his IPL career as well, Chandrashekhar.
Well, there are two ways of looking at Dhoni's career. As Rakesh was saying, I'm seeing him after a long time. Hi, Rakesh. So,
Hi, 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 hi.
there are two ways of looking at it. Dhoni as a brand, Dhoni as a captain, Captain Cool, and Dhoni as a player. I would certainly not with Rakesh on this that after Bradman there could be Dhoni. No, I have very different views. I have covered cricket for 30 years. Dhoni never represented cricket. Dhoni was a cunning leader. Dhoni was a street smart. And when he started leading the team in 2007 or so, he got a team of world champions. There were, five world champion players there, from Sehwag to Tendulkar to Lakshman to Ganguly, all these players, Zahir Khan and all these. So but there were so many disputes inside disputes. That's how he was chosen as a captain. He got the backing of Srinivasan and all those, corporates. In fact, he was the adopted son. Everybody says that he's the adopted son of Srinivasan, India Cements. So he got certain things on platter. So instead of, saying that cricketing great or something, he was great in the sense that he brought all these greats together. There was conflict within the team, so they wanted a leader. He fits well into that role. And after all these people retired, everybody retired, he became an icon with a very strong liking and disliking. There were so many careers destroyed by Dhoni. There were so many controversies attached to Dhoni. There was that list of 13 people still in the sealed envelope in Supreme Court. So there's so many other things. And also, his team was banned for 2 years by the Supreme Court. Any other captain, any other player would have been, left by that time or been sacked by that time. But because he was the so-called adopted son, so he still continued until last night. He was still there, and you never know, he could be back tomorrow. So Dhoni has a different, I would say, had different skills. He managed those skills with all his limited abilities together. He was never a great wicketkeeper. He was never a great batsman, but he was a great finisher. He used all these things in a way that probably, Tendulkar was not a shrewd captain. He failed as a captain.
Right.
So he fits everywhere and became a brand Dhoni, which I would say probably, difficult to match by anyone.
From what you're saying, I can also understand, we're talking about brand Bharat and Dhoni representing brand Bharat. That's where we began all of this. He probably represents the kind of chutzpah that small town India comes with. If you have to make it big in this world, which is all dominated by all the big kids from the big cities. If a kid from Ranchi, who was a ticket collector on a train, has to come through in the big bad world of cricket and cricketainment, which it became. That's incredible. Rakesh ji, if I were to bring it back to you and ask you, it's incredible, that career that you have, 3 formats, IPL, T20, one day, test cricket, maintaining fitness. That's a new playbook. That's the Dhoni playbook we're talking about as far as cricket is concerned. And similarly, you have Dhoni now creating a playbook for how to build a brand from scratch and take it to the heights.
Absolutely. We started off this discussion. First of all, thank you, Chandra Shekhar, for joining us on the show. Long time that we have met and spoken. What is important is that, Dhoni the cricketer, there could be a polarizing view. There's nothing in this country which doesn't get polarized.
Well said, sir.
So he's entitled to that view and opinion, but his stats, ultimately what matters is stats. It's in the black and white.
Or even that there's a debate. If you ask a sports journalist, Chandrashekhar Luthra, I say it's not all about the stats, isn't it, Chandrasekhar? Well, it's not all about the statistics, isn't it? If I were to ask you that. As a sports journalist.
Cricket has always been a gentleman's game. And Dhoni probably changed that.
Wow, that's quite the big sweeping statement to make, Chandrasekhar.
Okay, Chandrasekhar, we were on the limited point to begin with about what are the leadership lessons.
Yes.
You could have an academic debate whether they're the right lessons or they're the bad lessons or they're founded on the wrong edifice, as Chandrasekhar might probably let us believe so.
Right.
And he has a fair point to articulate his version.
Fair enough.
But to my mind, for corporate India, because ultimately it's all about taking those decisions, ability to think hard when there is a crisis. And, with Dhoni in the field and India trying to take that leadership role, like India trying to take the leadership role in the global arena, there's always a challenge. There are far too many challenges. So, to my mind, there are about 7 takeaways. Why I'm saying 7? Because Dhoni loves that number. There's a certain magic about that 7. He's born 7 July, if I'm right.
Oh, absolutely.
So, in that sense, to my mind, he did built on legacy, which Chandrashekhar also said. He respected his predecessors. They were stalwarts in his team, putting them together in an era where egos were larger than the bat. So in that sense, he could aggregate that leadership. He could put that together is something that really, really made a difference. The other point in my mind is dirty your hands. See, we have had an era, I'm not getting into names, where I call non-playing captains. So they're great guys. They have a great track record. They have great legacy. But when it comes to that particular day, they're off. But they're the captain.
Paper tigers.
I mean, they have had their past, they've sustained themselves. And, third is leading from the front. Remember that Joginder Singh, nobody had heard of Joginder Singh.
Yeah.
2007, final over. Risk-taking capability. That's phenomenal. Lead from the front. If that had gone wrong, imagine the entire dream and everybody would have abused him. Sure. We have instance in this country where Sachin Tendulkar's house has also been stoned.
Yes.
So, that particular reaching there and then failing there, and then finally hitting that last ball 6 in 2011 World Cup in the ODI. He's led from the front and he's taken risks. And today, more than the stats, Krishna, it is his strategic mind. So that's why we're discussing. In the last 5 years, to my mind, especially in the IPL stint, if you would notice, it is not his day-to-day performance in front of the bat or behind the stumps.
Yes.
Where again, he yesterday picked up a nice one.
An incredible stumping that took just 0.1 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. But it
to
is the
dismiss
strategy.
a man like Shubman Gill.
Yeah, absolutely. So young and fit.
Yeah.
So, strategic mind has a core relevance to the corporate India. So I was on point number 3, lead from the front. The fourth one, as Chandrashekhar rightly said, sheer credit, take blame. He has taken blame. He's lost many of the IPL finals having reached there. Yet, that failure he has allowed not to, so to say, bring down the morale of the team.
Right.
As one of the top cricketers said, he's taken, trash from other leagues and converted that into gold. That strategic mind is very, very important. You marry a great strategic mind with a great execution and finisher capability, you have a winner of a corporate India in that sense. And then risk appetite, we identified risk appetite. He has demonstrated playing himself, the helicopter shots, which often has gone wrong, but quite often now it is, so to say, associated with him. And now that's become a legion of many other cricketers who are using that shot.
Yes.
Bending down on your knees and then, really flying it off. And then promote merit. I have a strong view that Dhoni assiduously has promoted talent. There are likes and dislikes, as Chandrashekhar. Every human being has biases. You can't kill a bias when, especially, there are so many people competing to get into that national level. And if you're adjudicating that, you will have some strong likes and dislikes. So whether he is responsible for building a plethora of cricketers or he is responsible for killing a few individuals, history will judge him on that. But he has created a very large talent pool of talent.
Absolutely.
That too from not just Delhi, Bombay.
Yeah.
He has democratized cricketing talent, mainstreaming it for the Indian, good. Lastly, I think, because loyalty, that echo chamber, he steered clear of that. I don't know how far it's right, Chandrashekhar could bear fruit to that. Rahul Dravid could not reach him because he doesn't use a phone when he wanted to announce his retirement. I don't know whether it's true or right, but I have heard this.
Chandrashekhar, if you can quickly confirm that for us.
That's right. There were so many other instances. It's just not the one. There were so many times selectors wanted to speak to him. In fact, after that, the same legacy was passed on to Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli didn't take so many calls. So, I mean, this is again, Dhoni could have, so many shortcomings, but you have to also talk about Dhoni's, charisma. The charisma as a player, as a corporator, as somebody who could influence the generation. Yes, he has instilled that confidence in the small town boys. Look at RP Singh or Rana or all these players, who were coming from small towns. And they became, yes, very friendly. They were all, Dhoni was also protecting some of his players. But yes, there could be, again, I have different perception. Rakesh ji has different. But you have to give this to Dhoni, that despite all the pressure, despite all the politics, and BCCI politics is worse than Indian national politics. It's worse than BJP versus right. Congress. Let me tell you, it's a 50,000 crore company. And believe me, you to survive there as a captain, it's not that easy. It's never been
absolutely.
Easy. And look how Vinod Rai, during his tenure as a caretaker, Supreme Court caretaker, how there was ugly fights between Anil Kumble, another legend, and Virat Kohli, and Dhoni kept quiet. Dhoni was always been protected, or he was involved in certain other things. So
Right.
these are all part of politics. But
Fair
Dhoni,
enough.
as a charismatic leader, I would again say yes, he was in a different league, and apart from that, I have different views.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take this back to LLoyd Mathias as well. Lloyd, we'll step away from Dhoni cricketing achievements. Let's talk about the brand Dhoni and brand CSK. I mean, that's a brand, he has also built from scratch from season one. You're talking about CSK now, according to some valuations, now the second highest brand, but second most valuable IPL brand after the Mumbai Indians. Very marginal difference between CSK and Mumbai Indians, although they're equal now on trophies. And brand Dhoni, nearly doubling since he announced his retirement. And how do you see brand Dhoni progressing from here on, considering that he might just play one more season? And also talk to us about brand CSK vis-a-vis brand IPL, the second most valuable sporting league in the world after the NFL or the National Football League in the US.
Thanks, Krishna. I just want to get back to, I think, one interesting point that Mr. Chandrashekhar made, which was the fact that, as he said, Dhoni may not have been the best in batting or in keeping all the while. But I think the important management lesson takeaway, me and I guess for the larger context of India Inc., is the fact that how do you parlay your strengths to maximum effect? I think the very fact that he's marshaled the fact that he didn't come from a big city, he didn't have the same support that, let's say, larger ecosystems did, and yet succeeded, I think is a lesson in itself. How did he manage it so effectively and deliver such great results? Coming to brand Dhoni, I think it's going to grow, year on, though not forever. I think you'll recognize that a lot of players' abilities and their ability to attract sponsorship is largely dependent on their on-field presence. Even the best of them will have a moment when it fades off. But I think the future for Dhoni is still bright, because even besides brand endorsements, I think the legacy he leaves behind in his glorious career, both at an international level and even at the IPL level, I think will stay for years to come. So he's etched a place for himself in history, and that itself makes for a very, very robust and solid brand, right? So as long as Dhoni doesn't do anything, let's say, completely off the track in the next few years, I think he's going to stay in public memory for a very, very long time, among the legends and greats. And therefore, brands will always use him. And given the fact that he's relatively enjoyed, or he has been non-controversial, he's been hugely successful, he has pan-India presence, I think that's great. I think lastly, coming to CSK, I think they've been an exemplary example of a franchise that's built itself on with fairly decent resources. They haven't gone overboard splurging as, let's say, sides like RCB did, and yet have delivered amazing results. I would say the only other team that comes close in that league would be Rajasthan Royals, who obviously they don't have as many trophies to show, IPL trophies to show. But I just think Chennai Super Kings have cultivated a great franchise on the back of a regional identity, who is a lot of consistency. The fact that Dhoni has been associated with them right through, barring obviously the 2 years when they were not in the league, and the fact that they've cultivated this core fan army. And I think, like Rakesh ji pointed out, every stadium you go to had a surplus, had a lot of yellow shirts in the stands when CSK was playing. So they actually have a franchise that goes well beyond their home base. I saw a game that Delhi Capitals played with Chennai Super Kings at the Kotla, and I can tell you there were more yellow shirts on the stands even then. So I think that's a great tribute, to Dhoni and the way the CSK team have built the franchise over the years.
Right, talking about CSK franchise and IPL as well, tell us in terms of IPL as a brand, viewership. This time around, you have a $6 billion broadcasting deal, $3 billion each for streaming on OTT and broadcast. And the kind of viewership, we're talking about a 30% spike in viewership whenever Dhoni was batting during this season. We're yet to get the final numbers out. We're talking about well in excess of 26 million, for that final alone. Tell us from that perspective, how crucial was IPL 2023 and this entire, CSK wave as well.
So, Krishna, IPL 2023 truly beat all records. I think the first reason was the fact that BCCI cleverly split the media deal between a separate television broadcaster and a separate digital player. And the fact that these were two rival networks for the first time in 16 years really kind of made it very competitive, right? So each of them chose a different strategy. Geo Cinema went in terms of getting more advertisers from smaller towns, saying that we can customize the feed. Star focused on the big play. I think, and together with the fact that this year had a lot of close finishes very early on. So Rinku Singh's 5-6s. I think all this added to the excitement. So in terms of sheer viewership, I certainly believe this IPL would reach the highest number. In terms of return on investment, I can say with a fair degree of conviction and authority that both the media broadcasters and the digital owners, rights owners, would not have come anywhere close to recovering their investment, right? So the fact that BCCI split the things and the overall bid went to around 48,000 crores was good for BCCI, but I think it will take time for viewership to build that level and for advertising prices to keep up so that the broadcasters recover their revenues. As of now, that's still some distance away. And the fact that in India, there is no sign of cricket fatigue, right? People love the sport. Every form, IPL is, year on year kind of built on its viewership. I think international cricket is still strong. But I still think there's some more distance to go before this becomes, shall we say, viable for the broadcasters. I would say for now, BCCI is playing on the edge. It's pushed cricket in India to the ultimate level. And I don't see year on, 5 years from now, very difficult to forecast the future, that there'll be as big a jump. But for now, I think IPL truly deserves its position as the second most valuable sports league in the world, just given the fact that a much smaller percentage of the world is involved in cricket. And I think that's really a tribute to the creators of the IPL and the fact that they've made it a kind of money spinner for everyone, for cricketers, for ex-cricketers, for media, for advertisers, and indeed for the audiences.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win all around.
Let's say this, Rakesh, the fact of the matter is that you have a brand like Tata being the presenting sponsor for the IPL. From there to Herbalife, Active Catch of the match, you have the entire spectrum of India Inc.
Absolutely.
Making its presence felt at IPL.
Yeah, a couple of points before we let off Dhoni. So on the Dhoni and the CSK interplay, what happened is that Dhoni has identified talent in tier 2, tier 3 cities in India. He's done it outside of India also. The junior Malinga is a tier
Matisha
3.
Patirana.
I don't remember the name. You're very good at it. So his performance, Dhoni is invested in him. And back home, we do know what Virat Kohli said of Dhoni when he was going through a, sort of say, recessionary phase, if I can use that phrase since we are on the business bulletin.
Right.
It was one gentleman who connected him was Dhoni.
Yes.
And he's gone on record to say that. No, on the CSK piece, on the future of IPL, what is important to remember, Krishna, is I'm taking it back to the political economy of this country.
Right.
Now, what is happening is that the rise of franchises are essentially symbolic of the federal India story.
Yes.
So, a couple of things will happen in the future. One, that we just expanded the team, play from 6 to 8, if I remember the number correctly. We brought in Lucknow and Ahmedabad.
Yes.
I do see, given the success that we have with the numbers and the advertisers, this being expanded to a few more cities. So, each city at the political level, at the corporate level, at the administrative level, will invest in trying to be part of the IPL glory. So, in that sense, there is bright future for IPL. And then the other part is IPL going global. Now, IPL is either replicated in the same form with the South Africa version or a Dubai version,
Yes.
or else there are replicated standalone non-IPL format, but bases the success of IPL.
Yes, like
so
the Big Bash or...
Yeah. So, and also there is talk about Olympics putting in T20 as one of the games. This is to 2028, little far away.
Yes.
So, IPL is here to stay. To my mind, with the digital and the broadcasting streams bringing in double the numbers, we don't have the final tally right now.
Yes.
But I do see that more and more states making a pitch to expand the ambit, and I think BCCI will be happy because it gets more revenue and it's only keen to enrich itself. So in that sense, CSKs of the world, there will be replication. And one big lesson again for corporate India, this Nandini story we talked about. Then there was this other story in Tamil Nadu about the other milk brand.
Arvind.
You're right, Krishna. Politicians know how to create barriers in a genuine economic activity. IPL has shown that backed by performance, backed by a solid business model, politicians have no role to play.
Wow, that's a fantastic takeaway, if I may, from IPL 2023. Let me take this back to Mr. Chandrashekhar Luthra as well. Talk to us about the fact that you have a Gujarat team that has just entered, just 2 seasons. First season they enter, they win it. And in the second season, they are, in the finals, fighting it out till the last ball. That's incredible. That just shows, the fact that if newer teams were to come into IPL, they don't have to be absolute slouches. They can go all guns blazing like Lucknow Super Giants and the Gujarat Titans.
Well, Gujarat Titans is another, story of another captain in making. I would say if anybody could actually succeed Dhoni, that is Hardik Pandya. And Hardik has shown that with his attitude, with his style of thinking. I never thought till, say, 6 months back or so, when we were playing that World Test Championship or then T20 ICC World Cup, that this guy could actually go, could actually become a brand. But he has proved everybody wrong. The moment he came out of that shoulder injury, he started bowling again. I think his confidence level is at a different level. So right now there is only one captain in the not just in the making, but there is only one brand which everybody is looking at, and that is Hardik Pandya. So the difference, yeah. So the difference between Dhoni and Hardik, I would say, it was last game. I don't think Dhoni is going to come back. He's master of spreading those lies, even in his history as a captain or other. He never tells you when he's retiring. So probably he has said he might come back, but I would say he will not come back. He will come back as a mentor, as a coach, or as a different strategist, but not as a player. So the next year the story will be all about the new generation. Shubman Gill has already become one. He's becoming a very big player after Tendulkar or Virat Kohli. And now the Hardik Pandya story will start. But how will Hardik Pandya, change that perception of Dhoni? Because Dhoni has a very different take. Dhoni was a captain cool in the sense. Dhoni was not used to take so many chances. He was very lucky because I told you, he has got that team of superstars or all those things. But Hardik Pandya is there. He's taking more calculative risks than Dhoni. So these things will keep changing, with the time. But yes, brand-wise, I think Dhoni right now is going to stay as a brand till the next IPL, probably. Right. If he doesn't play, probably his brand will come down.
Right. LLoyd Mathias, there is just that story of the runners-up who are Gujarat Titans. You're talking about a private equity company called CVC Capital Partners, who's the franchise owners of the Gujarat Titans, who debuted with an IPL trophy victory, who again reached the finals. Incredible story there, isn't it, as well? And then again, you're talking about a Guru-Sishya relationship between MS Dhoni and Hardik Pandya. He's passing on the baton. And again, Gujarat Titans, in a sense, also following the same playbook as Chennai Super Kings and Dhoni. Understated team, all about performance, all about getting the basic job right. It's a fascinating interplay there, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the CVS Capital story really tells you the fact that cricket is so big right now that it's actually getting the attention beyond the kind of vanity franchises. The first round of franchises was really people who wanted to do something as a hobby. I think right now people are seeing it as an economic activity. The fact that the initial lot of franchises have reaped in more money through the IPL than they ever could, and the fact that the IPL in various formats has been replicated elsewhere in the world. I just want to come back to one small point on brand Dhoni. I think what really makes him stand out and still makes him relevant, one is the fact that he has a very good personality that brands can latch on to. Safe, dependable, and successful. And in the contrast of what Gujarat Titans have done, and with the points that Mr. Chandrashekhar made about Mr. Pandya, I think that he takes a lot of that, except that he's got a little bit of flamboyance, which is not a bad thing. So for brands, I think they also want someone with a little flamboyance who can do things a little off script. So I think that works well. But yes, I do believe Gujarat Titans have made a great beginning. I think they're going to be here as one of the strong teams. I doubt, though, whether the IPL will be able to extend the format to teams beyond 10 in a hurry, right? Given the tight sports calendar, given the amount of days available, and the fact that squeezing 3 matches a day may seem very difficult, given how stretched players are. And at some point, I think national boards will resist that. But I just do believe that IPL has been a phenomenal property and clearly is going to extend to a lot more companies, even private equity companies around the world, taking a look at the sport for its sheer economic might.
Right, Lloyd Mathias, Angel Investor and Business Strategist, joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much, Lloyd, for being with us. And of course, thank you, Mr. Chandrashekhar Luthra as well, sports journalist who was in the broadcast. Before we wrap things up, one final take I want to get from you, Rakesh ji. What are the thoughts that you take away? IPL has seen this long journey, 16-year-long journey. It's been part of our lives for the last 16 years. And, was an emotional, moment, whether you are a CSK fan or not, but to just, watch what happened last night. If I were to ask you, your final thoughts on the matter.
Well, I mean, obviously great cricket, great performance, and finally who wins and loses, it's a question of focusing on making that win. It may not happen always. So in that sense, Hardik Pandya would be a little sad. But let's go back to who invested in Hardik Pandya. You raised the issue of, CVC Capital. Some interesting insights there before we conclude, because it sets a trend going forward that more and more PE and VC funds will come into cricket, especially, the T20 format. So it did try in 2018 or maybe earlier, both with Rajasthan Royals and Delhi Daredevils. It couldn't click the deal through. It didn't finally happen. And with, with Gujarat, what happened is that this was their third time being lucky, making it right.
Yes, because they had the Gujarat Lions team previously.
Yeah, so 133 billion is the AUM, assets under management, that this particular company has. It's
CVC Capital Partners.
Europe's first big investment in cricket. They've been earlier in volleyball and rugby, and they made a huge fortune being in Formula One, exiting and making a huge profit.
Wow.
So a couple of quick points. I don't see them exiting right away. I think they'll stay put, and they could also probably expand their presence. And they could look at 8 to 10 year margin for Gujarat Titans, just the second edition. And they have shown immense faith. Financial Times described this company as very shy. And you would see that many of the other promoters who are in IPL, they're right there in the frame.
Yes.
In this case, you don't see the Europeans right there in the frame. So they have invested deeply in Hardik Pandya. So Hardik Pandya is obviously the next big thing in Indian cricket. So I agree with my two other co-panelists. Finally, I think it's important to say that CVC Capital has two cricketers guiding them. One is Vikram Solanki, who is the CEO of the company. He's an English cricketer, not of the great grade, but he's settled in UK. Now he's the CEO of the chain. And there is another Matthew Wheeler. Interesting name. Matthew Wheeler was not a national level cricketer in UK. He has
county cricketer.
I think so. He set up an advisory company in financial services. So A&W Capital is investing CVC Capital in investments in India on sports. And outside of sports, CVC Capital is invested now big ticket in, there's a company called HCG, which is a cancer care company where they've already taken majority stake. And last week, or maybe 10, 15 days ago, we heard that CVC Capital, rich from its IPL experience, is now going to invest in Max Financial Services. We haven't heard the final word on that. That is picking up stake.
Well. Max Financial Services.
Picking up the stake of the key promoter who is shedding stake, Analjit Singh. That's about 12%. We have no official confirmation, but that's what's doing the round in the deal circuit.
Wow, look at last thoughts from IPL last night. Gujarat Titans come runners-up after being champions of IPL. And did you know all of this about Gujarat? Who owns Gujarat Titans? CVC Capital Partners, and now they're looking to pick up stake in Max Financial Services. Mr. Analjit Singh's stake. We don't have confirmation of the matter, as Rakesh was pointing out, but we will let you know the moment that news breaks right here on Business Plus. But for now, we have to wrap things up because we've completely run out of time here on the show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Rakesh ji, for joining us and enlightening us. And with that is a wrap here from my side. This is Krishnakumar signing off. Keep it with News9.